Laboratory 701, the Genesis Project. Deep within a remote, forgotten forest, where no birds sang and no winds whispered, stood Laboratory 701. It was a place no one dared approach, not due to wild creatures, but because of the secret hidden within the steel walls that pulsed with the heartbeats of the forest. This laboratory didn't belong to any government, any organization, and its name wasn't recorded in any official documents. In fact, no one outside its walls even knew it existed, except for the few who worked inside on experiments that even mythical demons feared. Dr. Alexander Harrison, the head of the laboratory, with sharp eyes and a mind that never rested, was always on the hunt for new scientific breakthroughs. He believed humanity should transcend its biological limits and acquire supernatural abilities through artificial means. His team's initial experiments involved plants and animals. The first plants they engineered glowed with colors no one had ever seen before. Cats that could move with lightning speed, birds with metallic wings, and rabbits capable of moving in complete darkness were just the beginning. But the true project was far more dangerous and ambitious. Dr. Harrison and his team were working toward creating superhumans, individuals with powers beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. The early experiments on animals had been successful, and now it was time to turn to human trials. Kate Mason, a talented biologist and geneticist, was one of the lead researchers at Laboratory 701. She had initially joined the lab to study genetically altered plants and chemical experiments, but she never anticipated she would find herself involved in something much darker. Slowly, she began to realize the lab was conducting experiments that defied ethical and scientific boundaries. One day, while going through some new data in the lab, Kate stumbled upon something she was never supposed to see: cryptic, encrypted codes that unlocked information about the true nature of the experiments. What seemed like simple trials were, in fact, part of a vast program to create superhumans, individuals who would possess extraordinary powers, capable of reshaping the world. But that wasn't all. The ultimate goal of Dr. Harrison and his team was not just to create powerful beings, but to forge an unstoppable army that would conquer the world. Kate realized, to her horror, that she herself was an unwitting participant in these experiments. In the course of the trials, she had unknowingly become one of the subjects. Her body was changing, and she was gaining power she never dreamed of. Her speed had increased several times over. She could leap incredible distances, and she even developed the ability to read the thoughts of others. But the transformations terrified her. She didn't know how to handle the powers that were awakening within her. That night, Kate fled from the laboratory, returning to her home. But her old life seemed impossibly distant now. She couldn't shake the fear that something fundamental had changed within her. And worse still, she knew she couldn't just forget about the experiments, or the terrifying truth that Dr. Harrison and his team were trying to create a new world order, one where power and control ruled above all else. Kate couldn't stay silent. She knew she had to take action. But as she began to investigate further, she realized she was not alone. Other individuals who had been subjects in the experiments had also survived and gained extraordinary powers. Together, they formed an unlikely alliance to fight back against the laboratory's dark agenda. Arash, a man with the ability to manipulate fire, joined her. Nika, who could move and manipulate materials with just her hands, became another ally. Sina, who could briefly control the minds of others, rounded out the team. Together, they vowed to destroy Laboratory 701 and stop the creation of an army of superhumans. Months of planning and infiltrating the lab's most secure systems finally paid off. The team made their move, infiltrating the underground layers of the laboratory, where Dr. Harrison and his team were conducting their final experiments. They knew they would be up against enemies unlike any they had faced before, but they were determined to stop this madness, even if it meant risking their lives. The battle that ensued in the lab's subterranean levels was brutal. Dr. Harrison, realizing that Kate's team had infiltrated the facility, ordered everything to be destroyed. Yet the team fought back fiercely. As the lab neared its destruction, Kate confronted Dr. Harrison in a final, explosive showdown. The fight was intense and desperate, but in the end, Kate managed to defeat Harrison and destroy the lab. However, just before the lab was completely obliterated, Dr. Harrison, with a sinister grin, uttered his final words. "This is just the beginning. The project we've started goes far beyond anything you could ever imagine. This is only the start of something much greater." As the dust settled, Kate and her team realized that the battle they had won was only the first step in a much larger war. A new world was emerging, one where power was not governed by bloodshed, but by will and intellect. And Kate knew, deep in her heart, that their fight was far from over. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this epic journey into the world of superhumans and dark experiments, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Beyond Imagination for more thrilling stories. The adventure is just beginning, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Next week, we dive into even darker secrets as Kate and her team face their toughest challenge yet. Stay tuned for the hidden truths of the Genesis Project. Make sure to turn on the bell icon so you're the first to know when the next chapter drops. The future of the world is in their hands. But is it too late to stop the madness? Join the journey. Beyond Imagination awaits.